Think your automatic car can handle anything you throw at it? Think again. Most drivers don't realize that common, everyday habits can ruin their transmission and lead to some of the most expensive repairs they'll ever face. From running on empty to shifting into gear at the wrong time, each mistake can chip away at your vehicle's longevity. Today, we're exploring 15 things you should never do in an automatic car. Stick around, because there's a bonus tip at the end that can keep your transmission running smoothly for years. Owning an automatic car is supposed to be convenient and easy, but it still requires a little bit of know-how. Make the wrong move repeatedly, and you might find yourself facing sudden breakdowns, embarrassing roadside emergencies, or a hefty repair bill that knocks the wind out of your wallet. The good news, once you understand these pitfalls, you can easily avoid them. Ready to protect your ride? Let's dive right in. Number 1. Running on empty. One of the simplest yet riskiest habits is driving with the gas tank near E. It might seem harmless when you're in a rush or trying to stretch that last drop of fuel, but a near-empty tank does more harm than good. Your fuel pump is nestled inside the gas tank and relies on surrounding fuel to stay cool. When the tank runs low, there's less fuel to absorb heat, which means your fuel pump can heat up and wear out faster. That's an avoidable expense that can set you back hundreds of dollars, just because you didn't top off. Another overlooked danger is the buildup of sediment. Over time, particles and gunk can accumulate in the bottom of your tank. If you regularly drive until your fuel level is critically low, you're forcing the pump to draw in this gritty debris. That dirt can clog your fuel filter or, worse yet, damage your entire fuel system. So, save yourself the headache by keeping your tank at least a quarter full. It's a small habit change that can make a big difference down the line. Number 2. Coasting in neutral. Some people still believe that shifting into neutral when coasting downhill is a great way to save gas. In older car models, that might have worked differently. But modern cars are designed to cut fuel injection automatically when you're slowing down in gear. That means coasting in neutral often wastes more fuel, not less. You're also sacrificing control. In traffic or on a steep decline, having your car in gear gives you the ability to respond quickly. Sometimes you need a burst of acceleration to avoid danger, and neutral leaves you powerless. If that weren't enough, frequent shifting between neutral and drive adds extra wear to your transmission. Each time you pop it back into drive at speed, you send a sudden jolt through the drivetrain. Over time, this strain can lead to rough shifting, strange noises, or even transmission failure. So, next time you're headed downhill, do your car a favor. Keep it in gear and let your engine do some of the braking for you. Your wallet will thank you later. Number 3. Driving through deep water. Stormy days and flooded roads might tempt you to just power through the water in your car. After all, your vehicle might look sturdy enough. But beware, your transmission isn't quite as sealed off as you might think. Automatic transmissions often have vents designed to relieve internal pressure. When water is high enough, it can seep in through those vents and mix with your transmission fluid, creating a milky, sludgy nightmare. This waterlogged fluid destroys the bonding agents in your clutch packs and leads to slipping gears or complete failure. Draining the fluid won't necessarily reverse the damage once it's done. If you must drive through standing water, proceed slowly and be absolutely sure it isn't too deep. Water intrusion can lead to thousands of dollars in repairs and leave you stranded at the worst possible time. 4. Leaving the car and drive at stoplights. You might think leaving the car and drive at every red light is no big deal. After all, you're just going to move again in a few seconds. Why bother shifting to neutral or park, right? The problem is, your torque converter keeps spinning as long as you're in gear, even if your wheels aren't moving. That spin generates heat, and on a scorching summer day, it can push your transmission fluid to dangerously high temperatures in a matter of minutes. Excess heat is the enemy of any transmission. It breaks down the fluid's protective properties, leading to increased friction and wear on internal parts. Over the long term, this means shortened transmission life and expensive repairs. Instead, if you know you'll be waiting for more than a few seconds, especially in warm weather, shift into neutral. Give that torque converter a break and let your fluid cool down, keeping things running smoothly for the long haul. Number 5. Not warming up the transmission. In cold weather, your engine isn't the only thing that needs a moment to warm up in frigid temperatures. Transmission fluid thickens in the cold, and your transmission relies on the correct fluid viscosity to shift gears smoothly. If you jump in on a freezing morning and rev away without a brief warm-up period, your transmission internals may experience jolts or delayed engagement. Over time, those abrupt cold shifts wear down essential components like clutch packs and valve bodies. So, on icy mornings, let your car idle for a short while, long enough for the transmission fluid to loosen up. Then drive gently for the first few minutes. It's a small habit that goes a long way toward preventing that dreaded slipping or shuddering, and it helps ensure a smoother drive all winter long. Number 6. Resting your hand on the gear selector. We all have little habits behind the wheel. Some people fiddle with the radio, others tap their fingers on the steering wheel. But one habit you should break immediately is resting your hand on the gear selector. Even slight pressure can affect the internal linkages in your transmission. It's not always obvious at first, but over time, that constant stress can cause premature wear. Picture the selector lever connected to a series of rods and forks. These components weren't designed to bear ongoing pressure from a hand. Keep your hands on the wheel for better control, and only touch the shifter when you really need to change gears. It's a simple switch in behavior that spares your transmission from unnecessary strain. Number 7. Ignoring dashboard warning lights. Many people pay attention to the check engine light, but what about the transmission temperature warning or other less common indicators? These lights aren't just annoying flickers, they're an alert that something isn't right. If your transmission temperature light glows red, it's signaling that your fluid is overheating, and breakdown is imminent if you don't take action soon. Don't forget about the battery light either. If your battery isn't charging properly, voltage might drop, causing electronic components, including those governing the transmission, to malfunction. A warning light is your car's way of saying, "Hey, I'm in trouble. Do something." So, if something pops up on your dash, investigate promptly. A quick diagnostic can save you from an expensive repair months or even weeks down the line. Number 8. Turning off the car before it's in park. In many modern vehicles, you physically can't remove the key or fully power down unless the shifter is in park. But if you drive an older car without this safety feature, you could accidentally switch off the ignition while still in drive or neutral. Doing that disconnects the engine from the transmission before it's had a chance to stabilize. Although you might not see immediate damage, you risk abnormal wear over time. Think of the torque converter as the bridge between your engine and transmission. When you abruptly cut power without placing the car in park, fluid doesn't circulate properly and parts can settle in unintended positions. It's a subtle but detrimental effect that, repeated enough times, can lead to internal friction and shifting issues. Always double-check, shift into park, then turn off the engine. It's one of the easiest habits to get right. Number 9. Hard acceleration from a stop. We've all felt that urge to hit the gas pedal hard the moment a light turns green. Maybe you're in a hurry or you just like the rush. But repeated jackrabbit starts are a surefire way to overload your transmission, engine mounts, and suspension components. While modern automatics can handle spirited driving, doing it constantly wears out sensitive parts and skyrockets your fuel consumption. Hard launches cause quick temperature spikes in your transmission fluid. Over time, fluid that's repeatedly exposed to excessive heat loses its viscosity and protective qualities. That means more metal-on-metal contact and faster component wear. Instead, opt for a smooth, steady acceleration. Your ride, your wallet, and ultimately your passengers will thank you for it. Hard launches cause quick temperature spikes in your transmission fluid. Over time, fluid that's repeatedly exposed to excessive heat loses its viscosity and protective qualities. That means more metal-on-metal contact and faster component wear. Instead, opt for a smooth, steady acceleration. Your ride, your wallet, and ultimately your passengers will thank you for it. Number 10. Shifting into park before a full stop. Ever find yourself rolling forward ever so slightly as you slide your shifter into park? That tiny roll might seem harmless, but it puts a lot of strain on a small component called the parking pawl. The pawl's job is to lock the transmission in place once you're fully stopped. If you engage it while the car is still in motion, it's forced to bring the entire weight of the vehicle to a halt. Repeated abuse can wear down or even snap this pawl, leaving your parking gear compromised. You could end up on an incline with a car that won't stay put. Or worse, you might hear a horrifying grinding noise that indicates internal damage. Always come to a complete stop, press the brake, and then shift into park. It might add a second or two to your routine, but it protects you from catastrophic and costly failures. Number 11. Neglecting transmission fluid changes. If you look through your car's manual, you'll likely see intervals for changing your transmission fluid, often around 50,000 miles, though it varies by model. Despite that, many people treat transmission fluid like it's magic, lifetime juice that never needs replacing. That's a fast track to trouble. As you drive, metal particles and clutch material accumulate in the fluid, turning it from a slippery lubricant into a gritty sludge. Once the fluid degrades, internal components can't dissipate heat properly, and friction skyrockets. Slipping gears, rough shifts, and eventually total breakdown can follow. Regular fluid checks are easy. If it's bright red and doesn't smell burnt, you're probably good. If it's dark or has an acrid odor, it's time for a change. Spend a bit now, or face a monumental repair bill later. Your call. Number 12. Not using the handbrake when parking. If you routinely park your automatic by shifting into park and walking away without engaging the handbrake, you're forcing a single metal pin to bear the entire load of your car. On flat ground, this might not be a big deal, but on hills or uneven surfaces, that pin can become overstressed. Over time, it may wear down or even fail, leaving your vehicle vulnerable to rolling away. The handbrake, or parking brake, is there to secure your vehicle independently of the transmission. Engaging it every time you park spreads out the load. If you're on a steep incline, put on the handbrake first, then shift into park. That small extra step not only protects your transmission, but also ensures a safer, more stable parking situation. Don't gamble with gravity when a simple motion of the lever can keep your car where it's supposed to be. Number 13. Idling in drive for too long. You might not think twice about sitting in drive while waiting for a friend or fiddling with your phone. But idling for prolonged periods, especially in hot weather, can cause your transmission fluid to heat up faster than normal. While newer cars have electric fans and improved cooling, fluid temperatures can still rise if air isn't circulating well under the hood. Overheated fluid loses efficiency, and that can lead to slipping shifts or even internal scoring on gears. If you know you'll be there for a while, say you're stuck waiting outside a store, shift to neutral or even park, or consider turning off the engine if it's going to be more than a couple of minutes. You'll reduce wear and help keep those temperatures in a safer zone, ultimately preserving your transmission. Number 14. Shifting from drive to reverse while moving. We've all done it in a rush. Maybe you're parallel parking, or you made a quick decision to back into a spot. But switching between drive and reverse while the car is still rolling is a big mistake. Your transmission needs a moment to disengage from forward motion before reversing direction. Doing this on the fly grinds gears and can snap internal parts that are designed to lock in place only when fully stopped. Though many newer cars include built-in safeguards to prevent serious damage, you're still asking the transmission control system to do more work than it's meant to do. Eventually, these harsh shifts can lead to stuttering, loud clunks, or a total gearbox meltdown. Always pause briefly with your foot on the brake, then shift. That 1-second delay can save you thousands in repair bills, and it's a lot less embarrassing than having to deal with a sudden breakdown. Number 15. Gunning the engine when stuck in snow. Getting stuck in snow can be frustrating, especially if you're late for work or an appointment. Your first instinct might be to floor the accelerator, hoping sheer power will free your wheels. But all that does is create unnecessary heat in your transmission and dig your tires deeper into the slush. Spinning wheels can't gain traction, and you risk damaging internal parts as they strain against the snowdrift. A better strategy is to ease gently back and forth between drive and reverse, with a complete stop between shifts, of course. If that doesn't work, lay down some traction aids like sand, cat litter, or specially designed mats. If you have a four-wheel drive or a D vehicle with a low-range setting, use it to increase torque at lower speeds. That keeps revs moderate and reduces strain on the transmission. It's slow and steady that wins the race here, and saves you from a potentially massive repair bill. Bonus tip: protect your car from the sun. You might worry about sun damage to your paint job or interior, but did you know it also affects your transmission? High heat can dry out the seals and break down your transmission fluid prematurely. Over time, that leads to leaks, rough shifting, and an overall reduction in performance. The sun's UV rays also degrade headlights, causing them to become cloudy, and can even affect tire rubber, leading to dangerous cracks. Whenever possible, park in the shade or use a windshield sunshade. If you're going to be away from your car for an extended period, choosing a parking garage or a spot under some trees can make a world of difference. It's not just about keeping the interior cooler, it's about protecting every component from excessive heat, including the vital fluids that keep your transmission happy. Small choices like these add up, prolonging the life of your automatic car and preserving its resale value. So there you have it, 15 critical mistakes that can turn your automatic car into a ticking time bomb. But the best part? Every one of these blunders is easy to avoid once you know about them. Whether it's letting your tank get too low, ignoring dashboard lights, or shifting gears without stopping, little changes in your driving habits can have a huge impact on your car's health and your wallet. Now we want to hear from you. What's the biggest transmission slip-up you've witnessed or experienced? Drop your story in the comments below. You might save someone else from making the same error.